across Montana, but with special precautions because of the COVID-19 pandemic. One question that many people are asking is what that means for activities such as sports, which came to an abrupt end last spring as the coronavirus began to show up here in the state. Well, today, the Montana High School Association released its guidelines to return to fall activities. Q2's Scott Breen joins us now to tell us more about the plan. Scott?
Well, from one corner of the state to another, biggest Montana high schools to the smallest and some in between, like here in Joliet, there's a collective exhale on this Monday and a giant burst of excitement. Your fall sports season is on as scheduled. The Montana High School Association announcing this morning with a letter to all of Montana's schools that they are a go. Naturally, they're encouraging some adjustments. High school volleyball teams are asked to provide visitors with their own separate allotment of volleyballs. There'll be no switching benches between games. Athletes in all sports are asked to bring their own water bottles, many of which already do. The MHSA is encouraging athletes, when possible, to keep at least 6 feet apart. That one will be tough during competition. They have not put a limit on the number of family members or fans who can attend games and events, choosing to leave it up to each school district depending on local health regulations. Practices are to be held in small groups or pods. Golfers can start practicing on August 13th. That's just a couple weeks out. Football, volleyball, soccer, and cross-country teams have the green light one day later. Again, those are just a few of the high points delivered today from the Montana High School Association. We'll take a closer look and break down some additional details coming up in sports. And we've shared all details from the MHSA in our stories at montanasports.com and ktvq.com. In Joliet, Scott Breen, MTN Sports.
All right, thank you, Scott. The lone cancellation to date is the All-State Band, Choir, and Orchestra Musical Festival, which was scheduled for October 14th through the 16th. That event, we've learned, will not be rescheduled. When Billings students head back to in-person classes next month, much of their day will be spent wearing a mask or face covering. But when will the mask not be required for students? Well, according to School Superintendent Greg Upham, some leeway will be given to students with breathing problems or other sensory disorders like autism. Masks will not be required when students eat lunch or participate in a physical activity like sports practice. The school district is asking parents for their help in supplying some masks and making sure that they stay clean.
It's been known to work, so we can't discount the importance that face coverings have when we come back to school. I have less anxiety now after meeting with Dr. Koo, the disease specialist, Mr. Felton, and reading about the effectiveness of face coverings. I feel much better. But that being said, we have to believe in those face coverings. And then also what I basically passed our parents as a community, we need your help in doing the right things to keep the virus at bay so that we can go back to school and function appropriately.
Upham says it might be a good idea for Billings students to have 5 washable masks for each day of the school week. In Wyoming, the state announced today it will deliver 500,000 washable cloth masks to its various school districts. Yellowstone County woman in her 90s has become the 47th Montanan to die while battling COVID-19. State health officials announced 41 new cases today. 61 people are currently in the hospital with the coronavirus. More than 480 Yellowstone County residents are currently infected. That's the most of any county in Montana. We also learned this afternoon that a Montana hospital CEO has tested positive for COVID-19. Dr. Dean French works for the Community Medical Center in Missoula. Also, 3 Livingston healthcare employees have tested positive and are now under quarantine. Well, MSU Billings has named a new interim chancellor after Dan Edelman resigned last week due to a serious medical condition. Rolf Gross, a longtime Montana University system administrator and former chancellor of the university, is coming out of retirement to take over on an interim basis. Gross is set to begin on August 1st. According to the school, search plans for a full-time chancellor will be announced in coming weeks. An effort to stop the demolition of the old grandstands at Metro Park has been rejected by Yellowstone County District Judge Rod Souza. 2 weeks ago, the Montana Racehorse Owners and Breeders Coalition filed for a preliminary injunction to stop the demolition project, citing irreparable harm if the grandstands were torn down. Judge Souza ruled the coalition failed to present any evidence of such harm and presented no facts that the county failed to follow all required legal procedures. County Commission Chairman Dennis Pittman is pleased with Souza's ruling, telling Q2 it clears the way for the 71-year-old grandstand to be torn down. Now, Pittman said much of the inside work, such as removing asbestos and windows, has already taken place. He said the heavy work of removing the canopy over the grandstand will begin once Montana Fair concludes in mid-August. Dan Fuchs with the Racehorse Owners Coalition said his group is disappointed. It did raise awareness to the grandstand issue and the developing master plan for Metro Park, but the story may not be quite over just yet. Fuchs says a group of Billings horsemen is still trying to get the grandstand added to the historical registry by the end of the week in hopes of halting that demolition. Over the past few weeks, there have been reports here in Montana and across the nation of people receiving mysterious packages from China. The content of those packages are found to contain unknown plant seeds. The Montana Ag Network's Lane Nordland shares more.
It came in a simple envelope shipped by a China post.
The Montana Department of Agriculture confirmed at least 5 residents received packages of seed. Receiving unwanted or contaminated seed is against the law in Montana, but it also creates the risk of introducing noxious weeds into the environment.
Unknown seeds represent a risk to agriculture, to horticultural plants and native species because we don't know anything about those seeds. They could have unknown plant pathogens, they could have unknown viruses, and so we definitely wouldn't want to plant any of those seeds in the ground, and we wouldn't really want to even throw those seeds away. So we wouldn't want them to end up in a landfill and grow somewhere in Montana.
If you receive a package of seeds, contact the Montana Department of Agriculture.
So if we have that packaging information that came with the seeds, we can work with our USDA partners to analyze that pathway of where those seeds are coming from, how those unknowing customers are being identified. So it'd be really important to get those seeds identified and then also have the packaging if anyone's receiving unsolicited seed shipments in Montana.
In addition to natural resource worries, there's also concern for identity theft, as this could be considered a brushing scam, a deceitful e-commerce technique where a vendor sends an unsolicited product to a verified address to submit positive online reviews unbeknownst to the receiver. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Lane. The Montana Department of Agriculture is awaiting official guidance from USDA on how to proceed with safe disposal of the mailed materials. You should report any unsolicited seeds received in the mail by contacting the department. Well, the Flying Legends Victory Tour arrived in Billings this morning. You probably heard it coming. Mayor Bill Cole and a color guard welcome them to Billings. The tour travels across the country with the mission of educating and inspiring the public with stories of World War II and those who served. They're offering tours of historic military aircraft of that era. You can also book a seat to take a ride in their B-25 bomber, Made in the Shade. This plane is one of only 34 remaining in the world. The on-ground tours run through Sunday, while the flights are set for Friday through Sunday. You can head to West Edwards Jet Center at 2491 Overlook to get a peek.
It's about telling the stories of people, passing on those stories to others. The plane is fantastic. We love the plane. We love the noise and all of that. But it's really about the people that are behind it, the people that flew it, even the women who helped build it. We've had them out. When you come out and look in our bomb bay, you'll see signatures of 25 crew, of Rosie the Riveters who helped build this plane in Kansas City. Their names are on there.
And be sure to watch the 10 o'clock news for a look inside that plane and the men and women behind Made in the Shade. Up next on tonight's 5:30 news, the journey was slow, but Winston the Sloth has arrived at Zoo, Montana. We're going to meet him coming up next. And in sports, play ball. The Montana High School Association announcing its decision on your fall sports season. Scott will deliver details.
Temperatures this afternoon were average for this time of the year, moving into the low 90s here in Billings. And the precipitation, though, is a completely different story. We're running less than half of where we would normally be. We'll let you know if we could fix that just a little bit coming up with the forecast.